Hello. After being distracted
Oh,
by lots of other things, we're actually going to do the thing we're supposed to do this evening. Post LP questions. Yippee!
Slightly more enthusiastic than the Lost Crown one.
Yep.
yeah, everything is better than that game.
Yep.
Yeah, this
Okay,
video is
so
way better than the Lost Crown combined.
without
Wait,
further
what?
ado, here's one of the first questions I've written down. Of all the character stories, which one was your favorite, and if possible, why? So, which one would like to start? Unless you want me to start.
Alright.
Gamma, gamma, gamma. Well, that's it. Okay, so we have all the stories, and I think the only one that was a bit more memorable compared to the other one was Gamma story, because basically, I mean, all the Sonic characters are doing their stuff like, ooh, I have to defeat Eggman, or ooh, I have to become independent of Sonic, or I have to stalk Sonic more, or something in case of Amy. But Gamma story was basically, I don't know, becoming his own master or something
Yeah.
like, and then at the end sacrificing uh, itself to get the bird inside of him free. And
My
also
favorite,
helping other people, I think.
yeah, true. My favorite story, believe it or not, was the big story because it very clearly contributed a lot to the overall plot progression, and quite a lot of character development happened there. Like at the beginning, Big was a cat who didn't have Froggy, and at the end, Big was a cat who did have Froggy. Of course, I'm completely lying. I really love the Gamma story above all else.
Yeah, I have to
But for
say,
the same reasons that Arthuriel likes it, just because
yeah,
it is a grand story that somebody kind of put a lot of thought into, and
It's the
then
last
and
story,
then the
I think.
rest of the writers who were just doing the other stories just went whatever.
Yeah, I think that's basically
Like,
my
oh
opinion
my
as
god.
well. Gamma Story is the only one that actually has some redeeming quality behind it. The rest of them are just either just basic stories, trying to be more than just basic story, like Sonic Story, Knuckles Story, Amy Story, and Tail Story. And the less
Yeah.
said about Big Story, the better. But yeah, Gamma Story, it actually has some meaning, it's actually quite deep, and unfortunately, a rarity within the Sonic series.
And it's also sadly quite short as well.
Yeah, but I think
Two
that also
parts
helps
only.
helps it make it better because you don't have to deal with it longer.
Yeah,
Like the
it
other
doesn't drag
character,
on for too long.
yeah,
Yeah.
most like Sonic stages kind of drag on for a while since there's so many. And while it doesn't really overstay its welcome as badly as in Lost Crown, it does kind of drag on. The other character story doesn't really do that, with the exception of like Amy's story, which is meh, Tail's story, which is repetition, and again, less said about Big, the better.
Tales' story is just about believing in himself and then running around in a circle.
Yes.
What's with Knuckles' story? We
Um,
forgot to mention him.
he's basically guy who has to protect the Master Emerald from being destroyed and restoring it, and that's it.
Yeah.
His
Just
story was
and more,
fine, I guess.
I think my story was more like exposition about the whole tribe thing and the whole chaos thing and how what's
Yeah.
happening to cause the thing to happen now to occur.
Hmm.
But yeah, anyways, I think that's satisfactory for that question. Are you ready for the next one?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, with
Mhm.
exception of Big Story. Oh, I misspelled it. I think I misspelled it with a T instead
It's
of
big.
F.
It's just
Exception
big,
of
right?
Big Story. Which was the worst?
Odd. OT, it's off topic. Yeah. Should I go first? Or?
Yeah, you went first last time, so you can go ahead.
Okay.
Wait,
Should we
what
just
was the
go in
question
order?
again? Instead of big story, what?
Yeah.
Yeah, with the exception of
Well,
big
the question
story.
is instead of big story, full stop.
No, but with exception of Big Story. So which one's the
Which
worst
was the
besides
worst?
Big Story? Because Big Story is obviously bad.
Yeah.
Oh, right.
With the exception of big,
Yeah.
yes. Okay, let's answer. I would have said as a joke answer every part of big story that was in part of other stories like the frog. I mean it. Which was the worst? I think the problem is basically Gamma's was the most memorable, and the other one are just kind of there, so it's hard to tell which one is worse. Maybe Amy's, because I also can't remember it. Not that good like the other ones, and it was the shortest, so I'm like, Or maybe Sonic's because it's the longest. I don't know.
I'm honestly tempted to say either Sonic or Amy, because I think Amy's is fine, but I don't know. But as for Sonic's, if you ignore what happens in the final act, which is the game considers like a separate chapter, Sonic's story is just very meaningless. Like Sonic's only motivation is, "Ooh, Eggman! I know he does bad things. Let's go after him," etc., etc. Um,
Yeah.
I don't know.
Oh, you mean like basically he just reacts to stuff while, let's say, Gamma does his own thing or something?
No, I guess I don't know. Hmm.
And okay, I'm gonna go with Tails' story because it's basically Sonic's story with mostly Tails and such. And
Yeah,
that's
actually, I agree with that. Actually, that's a yeah.
yeah, it's basically majority of Tails' story is basically doing the same thing you did with Sonic, except you have to race him for whatever reason, and that doesn't have
There's,
anything to do with the story. And
there's
even the
only like
part,
one or two stages which are unique to Tails as well.
yeah, and even then, it's just a small portion of the story, and it's like, man, it's like just recycled city whole Tails story.
You know,
Also,
that
also
we are
it's the worst
talking-
because it has everyone's favorite line: "Hey Tails, hey Tails."
Oh no. You know what reminds me of? Yeah, maybe I'm also more towards Tails or Amy. In case of Tails, I noted at one point, like, shouldn't they work together and not just race against each other? Like, oh, there's this villain called
Yeah.
Eggman. How about that? And not like, ooh, faster or something.
Like it kind of just sort of raises the question, like, okay, but then what happens if Tails doesn't make it before Sonic? Do they do they lose the day? Does Chaos win just because Tails was like 2 seconds late after Sonic?
The
Eggman
developer
starts to cry
I think
because
they
he had
realized
to
was the
wait too long.
developers puts a bounty hunter after Tails and assassinates him.
Honestly, all Tails' story does is point out how bullshit the point about Sonic being the fastest thing alive is when Tails, who isn't the fastest thing alive, can beat Sonic in
After
a
massive
race.
amounts of cheating, actually.
Fair point.
I mean, you go through these magical rings that just float in the sky that aren't collectible, and also
Yeah.
makes you drop if you don't push the hover button, which is bullshit. And yeah, I think that's good enough for that one. Okay, this one I can't answer, really, at least first, because this is about me. How well did Swedish play the game? Be honest, I certainly will.
Wait, what was the
I-
question?
How well did I play the game from this Let's Play? Did I play it well or did I play it badly? Be
I'd
honest.
say like from what if I'm not mistaken, you kind of play like a lot more sort of slower stuff, really, like things that have sort of strategy, or in the case of point-and-click adventure games, don't require too much, fast reaction times and whatnot. So I'd say in that regard, you played it pretty well. You're not the. Let's put it this way: you are not. You are nowhere near the worst player of Sonic games ever.
Yeah, that can be worse. I mean, not
Yeah.
everyone can be like a speedrunner because it can take like dozens, hundreds, or thousands of hours depending on the game.
I mean, there was like, if I recall correctly, went in the playthrough where you didn't go to a place that you were supposed to go because you wanted. I can't remember what part it was. I swear there was like a point where you had to skip a huge chunk of footage just because you didn't figure out where you were supposed to be going.
I think it was like an Amy story where there's like this bunny at the press, and I'm like, wait, where would I have to find it?
Something like that, I guess. But
Getting lost.
then again, it's kind of that might be slightly inexcusable due to the fact that you kind of practiced playing the game before the playthrough. But I don't know. I'd say you didn't play terribly. You did quite well.
I have to say, I probably didn't play too well. I mean, I played a lot better since when I was a kid, but even then, I think Sonic games just isn't my kind of games. I mean, I don't mind more fast and act games. like Kingdom Hearts is kind of like fast paced in a way, since combat is
Oh,
always like active and such. And yeah, that's going to be the next LP, probably a solo one though. Sorry.
just
Anyway, so
name
yeah,
dropping it.
yeah. I mean, I figure I might as well just go ahead, and I'm already going my practice run through it. And I do like more fast-paced games, since most like slower strategical games aren't really my thing, because they're either too demanding of strategy and such. I mean, unless it's like
Hmm.
a more simplistic one, like Fire Emblem and such, which is very simple and easy to learn, or Civilization, which also is like easy to learn. I don't really like slow-paced games like that.
A quick round of Crusader Kings 2. It only takes a few dozen hours.
Yeah. So, I mean, I suppose I was not the worst, but I certainly could have done a lot better if I had a little bit more practice and I played more high intensity games. But yeah, I'm definitely not the player who should be like a speedrunner or anything.
Hmm.
Anyway, enough of that. Okay, if you could change the game in any way whatsoever, how would you improve it? And not causing the game to exist is not an option.
Yeah.
Ah, always that thing.
I have to.
Doing it better. Full stop. No. That's not an answer. Change the game in any way. What would you do?
I could start in the while
Yeah,
Ben is
you go
thinking.
ahead because I'm still trying to figure out my answer.
So one thing that I noticed quite a lot, and I also said it quite a lot or reacted to it, was animation, mainly Sonic and so when they are like moving their face. It looks terrifying. It looks absolutely abhorrent, like really ugly. And it's not like, there's like older game animation because, you had limitations, but this is just awful. And so,
If I could add to that point, it's kind of more ridiculous when you consider the fact that Super Mario 64 game a fair bit before Sonic Adventure had really good animations, and yet Sonic
yeah,
Adventure just
3
kind of
or 4, I think.
yeah.
Um, one thing that might be an issue, maybe the game didn't have the budget or the time they had, or the transition to 3D was really rough because the team had no idea. I don't know the background, and we may never know. So that's just guesswork. But yeah, the thing is, when you look at characters like Gamma, most of the time, like their winning animation and such are pretty okay. But then you see Sonic's win animation; it's super fast. So there are so many problems that I wonder, didn't they have like the time to polish it? Probably that's the issue.
Especially since it's like a remake, and they should have like more time to be able to like finer touch it and improve on stuff and such.
Yeah, exactly.
Really,
So
the
yeah,
only... Sorry.
so basically I would have said in case of animation, maybe less is more or polish, because the characters like Eggman, yeah, I mean they're moving ahead, but at least I don't go like, oh, my eyes, the goggles do nothing. Gameplay wise, I think I would have to play the game. The one thing I noticed from your game playthrough was that you sometimes got stuck and such, and so I wonder if I would play it, would I also get stuck a lot, or is it manageable? That's one thing
I
that
think that
I
the game has pretty
can't tell
bad
much
collision
about.
physics. Like you see me how I gone through like several railings multiple times
Yeah.
playing through. First on in like the first stage, and then in like Eggman's Carrier twice with 2 characters.
Oh yeah, the where
Oh,
you
that was
went off
amazing.
rails or
I
something.
would, if I were to say anything, I guess animation and such is also, but you could have probably cope with it, since in a way it kind of makes the
Yeah.
game unique. In a way it kind of looks terrible in animation aspect and such. But I would probably focus on improving the gameplay, making it more
Yeah,
stable and such. That's probably the most important thing from my point.
yeah, because it's the thing
Because
you
getting your
experience the
character
longest.
stuck or dying because of BS reasons is not fun. Especially a
Yeah,
game that's high paced and fast. That might be because why the game is so unstable, because they wanted to push the game more than they could actually do back in the day. But even still, they should at least try to make it so that the game doesn't throw cheap crap on you all the time. So I would focus on making the gameplay more fun but challenging. And also redesign the majority of the bosses to be more better. Because the only actual good one was Beta's boss fight, since The other ones either were so ridiculously easy, you could just cheap shot them, like how I did like this Chaos 6 boss, finally just having like Eggman's
Oh, that
ice
was so
things.
short. The boss didn't even use all the attacks, right?
Yeah, there was like one attack where you use like Tails like a giant
Oh.
guillotine and swing it around. And he never showed off that because he didn't want to.
Hmm.
And the less said about the Chaos 4 too, which took forever, the better.
Was
Especially
it
since
the
you had to
Pond
play.
of Agony?
Yeah, it's the one that
the
took forever.
pond thing?
And one of them you had to replay 3 times.
It's kind of more
Most
boredom or
one.
just frustration, really, because
Oh, and the
yeah.
playing
Or Busy
game.
World?
I'll probably just remove that entirely since it's
Oh,
just
yeah.
unnecessary.
For me, there are only two things I can think of regarding changes to the game. The first one is having Sonic shut up. Not just because of the dialogue and whatnot, but just because I don't know why. I kind of preferred sort of the idea of just Sonic being completely silent or something like that, and also means you can have more show and don't tell, really. But okay, on a more serious, one thing I kind of change, and I'm not exactly sure how I'd go about doing this, is to try and make sort of the separate stories and whatnot actually, tie in terms of like story or gameplay wise into the main campaign or something like that. Because there's still a fair bit of actually, justify the different characters' gameplay and whatnot. Because with characters like Tails and Amy, they just kind of feel very gimmicky. Like, ooh, how about we have a campaign where it's just racing through the courses? Ooh, how about we have a campaign where you're constantly being chased and have to keep ahead of like a moving target or something like that?
And
And
needless to
it
say,
just
big
it
campaign.
feels
Yeah.
yeah, it all feels very gimmicky, really, rather than actually being implemented for sort of fun gameplay or something like that. Like
I mean, I had the
you don't play a Mario game just for it to midway through with a long, tedious fishing minigame. Um, in fact, actually, I think the other campaigns wouldn't be so much of a pain if it weren't for the fact they were required in order to get the final story act. I mean,
Oh,
I can
that's
understand why they did that, but at the same time, it just locking it behind other types of gameplay, which just doesn't really fit with what Sonic games are like, is just really a strange decision. Like having them optional, like the Chow Garden and stuff like that. Actually,
yeah, that should be optional.
yeah. If in fact, actually, now that I think
I
about it,
mean,
I'm
agree.
amazed somebody at Sega didn't just go, "Hey, what if we made the Chow races required to be
Oh
beaten in order
no!
to get the final
Oh
story?"
my god.
Oh God. But
No, that
Yeah.
yeah, my main point is to have the different sort of justify the different play styles and have them actually like if they're mandatory, make them fit in with most of the rest of the gameplay. And if they're not mandatory, then yeah, go all wild if you want, just as long as it's not required for progression.
I mean, I had the impression that there was some timeline because I was like, oh, that happened before or this happened afterwards. So
Yeah.
some thought apparently went into it. So that's the thing. But yeah, I think it's maybe they concentrated too much on stuff like Biggs with the fishing, which sounds more like something that should also be optional, like the Chow gun, but instead it's like part of the main story for
Hmm.
reasons like lack of brain in case of Big.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's weird.
Anyway, I think that's enough of that question. It's gone on for quite a while. Okay, this one should be a lot easier. Was the NPC stories better than the main story? Like the
I'd say,
burger shop and such, and the train strike and all such.
honestly, the only one I found it interesting was the whole sort of burger shop ordeal. But then again, that's mainly just because it was quite. I believe what the kids call it is wholesome. But that was like a sort of lovely little side story and whatnot. But a lot of them I just kind of forgot about, like the guy having an affair, the uh, woman who, if I recall correctly, was just sort of gambling off all her money or something like that.
I think it was like
Instead,
two vacationing twins or whatever.
yeah, like that. I guess it kind of helped as a way to make the world feel a bit more alive, but at the same time, I didn't really pay much attention to those stories because they weren't mandatory to understanding the full story. As for whether I think they're better, I don't know.
I think
Really.
the stories are sometimes more hilarious when I look back at our commentary and playthrough, because we were like making jokes about the Burger Man or the train union and
Yeah.
stuff like that. So it's more like a joke, but in a good way, or we are laughing at them, not about them.
Or
I don't
laughing
know.
with
Yeah,
them,
it's.
more like laughing with them more than at them.
I think it's more like laughing at them, or
Yeah.
more like when somebody from us reacted to it. So I think it was like a nice flavor, but I wouldn't say it's better than the main story, especially when you look at the story elements like from Gamma and such.
Okay, so I would say on one hand, most of the stories aren't as good as some of the stories in Sonic Adventures with some of the characters, but most of the other ones like Tails, Amy, Big, I think the side stories were at least more interesting since.
Yeah,
I mean, you can even go to Sonic stories like Eggman, and stuff like it. And the side stories are at least, a little bit more interesting. Like the Burger Shop stories, probably like better than Sonic story entirely. Because
Yeah,
it
you
has
mean
like
you
something
have
more
like
interesting.
more development or something, and
Yeah,
it's
it's
in the
more developed than
background.
Sonic story, which is like Eggman every time.
Yeah, that's true though. So maybe it's like if you have like a tier list of stories, like with main story elements and NPC stories. So I guess in our case, maybe Gamma would be up, and then maybe some NPC stories, and then I don't know, Sonic and Tails story at the bottom.
Yeah, I think that generally the character stories are more interesting than NPC stories as a whole, but not by a large margin, I say.
Yeah.
I think if they developed the NPC stories a little bit more and left the Sonic stories and others just the same as they were, they might be a tie contender at the very least. Anyway, continuing on. Now, what is your favorite NPC? I'm guessing we can just say with the Burger Couple at this point.
Yeah. Just mainly because, from my perspective at least, that was just a really sort of cute kind of subplot in a way.
Yeah.
Also, I'm gonna sort of say this because I don't think this really ties into any other question, but I actually kind of like the visual style of the NPCs. That sort of kind of stylized anime-esque sort of look, and I like it just because of the fact it's that sort of stylized thing that it doesn't feel too weird. That you have kind of Sonic in this world and whatnot. Like it became a sort of huge point when in games like Sonic 06 and whatnot, where you had proper human characters who were supposed to look human. And with sort of Adventure 1, I do kind of like how they went for a more stylized take on the sort of look.
Yeah, I think they were like
the main
trying
characters.
to.
I guess.
Yeah. Sorry.
I guess also one little thing I do kind of like in terms of NPCs is the explorer guys who just gush every time they see the egg carrier. It's going, oh my god, there was a big spaceship or something like that.
And there's just one guy who thought like, cool spaceship, I'm gonna follow it.
It's that's the Hardacre of the group.
Of course, it's the Hardacre one.
Yeah. Anyway, so that's my point.
Does the Burger Man statue also count as an NPC? Because then I would have said that's a
no, it's very much dead.
That you can just throw around.
Yeah, I say that.
No, that's an NPS, non-playable statue.
Close enough. I'd say. Actually, I don't know anymore. I'd say
the gambling mother.
That's good. I'd say Mr. Know-It-All because of his stand waving he does all the time every time you talk to him.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Like I swear.
Yeah, they remind me of like 90s or general Pokemon characters.
Yeah, I think all the characters kind of give me like Pokemon vibe and how they look like Pokemon characters from a game.
Which isn't a bad thing in itself.
Yeah, I think it actually works with Sonic Adventures considering how the characters look like. And like Nintendo keeps with the whole big-eyed Pokemon style even nowadays, and I think if Sonic were to do the same thing with their human NPCs, it would look a bit better. But yeah, the whole trying to make them real kind of gives them like an uncanny valley situation.
It's so real and with guns, like in Shadow the Hedgehog.
Yeah. Okay. I think we all know the question to this one, but which playable character would you like to have their own game of?
Clearly the answer would be Big. No.
It's not April
That
Fool's.
would be
Please stop
Sega
making
Bass
jokes like that.
Fishing.
I knew.
It's Gamma. Moving
Yeah.
on.
He
Okay.
is
I'm
selected
always
from the
tempted to say.
deck.
I just want to say I'm always tempted to say Omega, but I keep forgetting that that's like the name of the later version,
Yeah,
which
they're
is
sort of-
so annoying because they look very similar.
Oh no.
Yeah, there are little just palette swaps with a different name tag.
They're not even palette swaps; they're just kind of model redesigns, but with the exact same palette.
I think it's close enough to palette swap. Whatever.
Yeah.
Anyway, so
They're all brothers.
did you think the tribal scenes was important to the overall story?
I mean, it kind of. I understand why they did it. It's to sort of explain the whole deal behind chaos and whatnot. But because of the whole structure of the game relying on like subplots and then just kind of interrupting those subplots with like exposition for the main plot, it just doesn't feel like it fits in right at all. So I feel like the tribal scenes, they are sort of important to explaining the deal behind chaos and whatnot, but the way they're implemented, I just don't think works very well.
Yeah, I think it would be better if you stick with like a few times with Sonic story and then the majority of Knuckles stories, since Knuckles is kind of like those anteater people.
Yeah, like associate it with characters who would, have some association with the plot, especially
Yeah.
because, as I've said before, like, why does Big have to see, this exposition scene when he contributes literally nothing to
Yeah.
the final act or the overarching story?
3 movies.
Just kind of sits back with some popcorn. Ooh, tribal structure in flames.
Anyway,
can I chime
Yeah.
in? So I would say at first they were confusing because the intro was like where I think it was was it Sonic or was it in Tails? So where Tails held a fork and I made a joke about
Tails.
drugs or drugs or something because it came out of nowhere and I was like, what's going on? It's Tails on drugs or something. And later on I was like, oh, so apparently everybody who gets close to Tikal or something gets those weird flashbacks, and then at the end it explains everything with Tikal, who is like Sonic character stuck in a crystal, and Chaos went mad because the Tikal's father was a warmonger and attacked the Shao Temple.
Yeah.
I think I had to read this up because I was confused. I was like, wait, what happened exactly at the end?
Yeah, I think if they again did a restructuring to only relevant characters and only show snippets of them in a chronological order, like you see Tikal discovering this temple, you see that his father is being a warmonger and want to destroy them. Then they warn them and then they get attacked and then they die and then chaos attacks. If that's something like that in a proper order, it probably would have make more sense.
Yeah.
My only I guess one other point I'd like to make regarding the tribal scene things is I feel like Tikal's role should only have been stuck to sort of those scenes in the final act, and because I find it really strange that she's also used for like the sort of tutorial and hint things, because I don't know why it just feels a bit out of place to have her kind of like part of this sort of grand story, but then every now and again her ball of light will just come down and say, by the way, you can press this button to execute this action.
Hey Link, you can do this.
Yeah, it's basically if in a Zelda game, that if like midway through, kind of Zelda as a spirit came down and said, hey Link, you can press this button to do the thing. Also, could you please come quickly? I'm about to die of hunger soon. Yes. I don't know. I feel like there's a bit of a disconnect in that as well.
Yeah. I mean, at least it's better than Sonic Adventures 2 with that robot who keeps talking that annoying voice all the time.
Oh yeah, Omochao.
Yeah. Okay, next to last question. Would you give the hamburger statue a hug in real life, in public?
No.
Not in public if everyone was watching.
Only as a funny photo for a friend, but otherwise, no.
I'd be tempted if I could make it so that everyone doesn't think I'm a freak if I did so. Like maybe like some kind of celebration where people just goofing around with the statue and such. Otherwise,
You know
not
what
really.
would, yeah, you know what would be funny? Like, if somebody would remake like the burger shop from the Sonic Adventure game, and it's like all Sonic themed, and then people would take like tourist pictures with it, like, hey, I was in the Sonic burger shop in Japan or
Just
something.
vandalize the Colonel Sanders statue to look like the Burger Man.
For $200, you get the Burger Man statue that you can
Make it
throw
happen,
down the
Japan.
river.
Next time you see the Colonel Sanders statue, vandalize it to turn it into the burger statue of Sonic Adventures.
Or you know, you could just choose not to. We're not in control of what you think.
Shush! I want to manipulate people. Don't stop me. Okay, seriously though, don't try to do anything crazy. Just remake the statue in real life if you could. Okay.
Do it, the Eggman Empire.
Use a 3D printer.
Okay, have stuff like that. Anyway, last question. Would you guys play the game after seeing the whole LP, and would I replay the game after seeing how to make in the whole LP?
I'd personally say not really, because the only real thing that Sonic Adventure has going for it is the story. Like that was kind of a big deal. Like a lot of the earlier Sonic games did have stories, but they were more sort of show don't tell, and you'd get like a huge chunk of the information just by like reading a manual or something like that. So, but like I don't need to play Sonic Adventure because I've already seen somebody else play it. Like I know what the story is, I know what the gameplay is like, and considering how a lot of that gameplay just looks rather torturous to go through, the big stuff, whatnot, I just kind of feel like I don't have to see it. There's nothing in Sonic Adventure, not even the original Dreamcast version or anything, that screams to me that I have to play it, even if I already know what happens.
You for real? I'd rather go last for this one since I replay. For me, it would be replaying.
So I think I wouldn't buy it because I think I'm just not into those games. I think I'm more like strategy or simulation. But I think it's more likely that I would buy this compared to the Ghost Adventure game that you showed us
Oh,
before.
absolutely.
Because I mean, at least I think if you play it a bit, maybe you can get around like some buggy stuff in Sonic Adventure, and you can go fast or at least fluently. And it's more enjoyable with beating the time, getting a fast one compared to the adventure game, which got really boring. I think like 1/3 into it. I think.
Actually, regarding comparisons to the Lost Crown, I'd say Sonic Adventure would probably be a lot more entertaining to replay than the Lost Crown, because
Yes.
at least in Sonic Adventure, you could just sort of replay levels, and
Yes.
that's when it kind of gets into one of my favorite things to do in modern Sonic games, which is to sort of replay the same levels over and over to try and, you know, master it and complete it as fast as possible. So it has
Yeah.
replayability in that way, but as for the Lost Crown, it also has only like the story going for it, and once you've done that, you don't really have to play it again because the gameplay is a slog.
I mean, it's €8 on Steam, the Sonic game. So, in case somebody wants it.
Okay, so I guess I go with me.
Yep.
Considering that I now have actually made a whole let's play of it, and I'll play through it. I might want to play some of the Sonic stages and replay them. I'm not really the kind of person who like to replay stages to get the best time. Not unless it's actually engaging, and Sonic games aren't exactly that engaging. I mean, Trackmania is one game I actually think is good because that game is like allows you to mod various courses, and when you play multiplayer, you play against other people, you can compete for the fastest time. But in the case of a Sonic game, replaying a stage or a beat just to get a faster time doesn't really appeal to me. And playing the entire story just to get to all these stages, if I ever have to lose the save file, doesn't appeal to me either. So I'd probably say no as well. Clearly, Sonic Adventures DX is not exactly a game you really want to play more than once, unless you forgot what the story is like and really want to remember.
And even then, you could just sort of search it up online.
Yeah. I've replayed this game multiple times, and honestly, the more I play it, the less I do think it's really good. I mean, I did enjoy the Let's Play, certainly a lot more than Lost Crowns, because I don't have to summarize a bunch of shit.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think at this point I'm going to start playing games I actually enjoy, which is Kingdom Hearts going to be next. And even then, I don't know if I'll still be liking Kingdom Hearts in the future, but I do certainly like replaying Kingdom Hearts after not doing so for a long while. And it is my second time through. But in order to show off everything with that game, I might have to replay it up to 3, maybe even 4 times, depending on.
Wow.
Hopefully just 3 times, unless I already screw myself with one of the save files.
Oh, you mean because you made something wrong at one point, so you
No,
can't
it's more like in
unlock
case I accidentally just go through something without recording.
Oh.
I don't think that's going to be a problem, unless I'm being stupid. I'll just have to make sure like I make another reserve save. But yeah, I'll be doing Kingdom Hearts, and because it's going to be a long and very kind of tedious in some bits journey, I'm going to do it solo, because these guys aren't exactly willing to go through the entirety of it, and that's understandable.
Yeah.
Anyway, so for the future of the channel, I'm still going to do Let's Plays, but I think I'm like doing 2 Let's Plays at once, if possible.
Ooh.
Yeah, like one solo Let's Play for like a bigger, longer game, since I do have a lot of games that I want to do Let's Play of, but might not be ideal for like doing cooperative commentary with. But I still want to do like this commentary thing with these two, because I enjoy doing so, and hope they do as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's okay.
I mean, as long as the game's interesting to talk about.
Yeah, I'll be providing much for those cases. I'll be providing much shorter, much interesting games, and I'll won't have to look through some of the things. So Arthuriel did mention like one thing you wanted to try, like Kerbal Space Program, where like you guys try to tell me what to do and such.
Yes.
And then maybe Dwarf Fortress.
Oh, Dwarf Fortress maybe not, because I recently tried and it's so tedious to get into. I mean, I get into it, but even then it's not long-term enjoyable, because this game has, like, at least in my opinion, massive performance issues, because it slows down so much that you have to really play like a small fort on the smallest map possible to have like 60 FPS. Otherwise, it's really slows down.
Okay, but we'll at least get to send the Kerbals to space and probably blow them up as well. Okay, yeah, I'm up for trying that. And there might be an actual live thing as well, so hooray. Considering how well these guys know Kerbal Space Program, they'll be shouting at me every 5 seconds, I can guarantee you.
Every 4. I will improve.
What are you doing with that air intake?
I don't know what you're talking about. I don't know rocket science. Help!
On your knees and beg for forgiveness. No.
But yeah, I'll be starting with the Kingdom Hearts one as soon as I'm done with the Sheo Garden and the whole game as its entirety. Then we'll also go into the hidden vault of Steam games never to be touched again.
Oh.
Like the Lost Crown. Although at some point I'll have to go through the other Lost Crown games, since the next one is still being produced, I think.
Yeah, if it ever comes out.
If it ever comes out. Unless Night Canvas has got itself lost in Saxton for all eternity.
Delayed due to current world events.
Delayed due to paranormal worldwide events.
The recent pandemic has gotten the ghosts all up in that. The game must be delayed as a result.
A ghost meteorite is going to hit Saxon. Can Nigel Denver save the world?
No.
No. Everyone dies.
Yeah.
You know what would be really awful? You know how in Pirates in the Caribbean you have like also like supernatural elements and ghosts? Imagine if Nigel Danvers is like a really lame pirate or so.
I don't know, but we're gonna have Sora being a very lame pirate along with a giant dog and a duck who's very angry.
Yeah.
But that's probably not for a long while, and then the next time not for a very long while, considering the amount of games there are.
I mean, it's in Kingdom Hearts 2, I think, the pirate
Yeah, the
elements.
2
right?
and 3.
Yeah.
And considering the second one has like 5 games in between them.
Yeah, the Kingdom Hearts timeline is quite astonishing.
Yeah, the Kingdom Hearts timeline makes even the twisted timelines of the Lost Crown even look sane.
Yes.
Almost.
I think the problem is it's like released on like roughly 1 billion different platforms, including like Japanese only mobile games. And then to give people like some overview, you have like those 2.9856 whatever DX Gold remix editions, and only there's like only partially the stories of all those games. I think I heard was it like 358 over 2 days or something, where you only got like a rough summary on like remix. It's confusing. It's absolutely
Speaking of which,
insane.
I'm going to go check if there's any news on that next new mobile game they're working on.
Oh yeah, that one. I haven't checked about it, but I heard.
It's going to be about the big villain Xehanort, who is like the big bad of the entire series, and how it became like the big villain from the beginning. So and it's going to be another card game, and well, I told you about what I feel about card games.
You love them.
Oh, you'll get to see me suffer someday, but not now.
From what I've heard, in regards of card games, I think originally the what was it? Chain of Memories, the card game was like a DS game, and I think in that regard it made more sense because it was
It
like
was a GBA game,
isometric
actually.
view. And then it was like 3D later on, which made it really confusing or something.
Yeah, it was originally released for GBA, which was like pixel graphics and such.
Oh yeah,
semi
GBA
2D and a half, and then it turned into a whole 3D,
yeah,
like a remastered version. It's weird.
Yeah.
I think it's only that. I think that it's only that and Dream Drop Grip Distance, which was one of the 3DS ones, which was actually re-released as a full game. The other 2 DS titles was only released as a movie and sort.
Yeah, I think that's what I meant. I heard like, yeah, those are summaries, but I think in one case I heard there's even more to the story, but you only got the movie. I don't know.
Yeah, I can't do the DS one, unfortunately. I only have the packs from the PlayStation 4 ones, which contains like most of the games and then some plot stuff from the games that this doesn't include. Anyway, I think we've gone a bit get sidetracked on it. We're talking about things that I won't getting until probably years from now, considering the length of these games. I mean, I won't be doing all of them all at once. I'll probably do something else in the meantime after I do one. But yeah, this is going to be a long one.
All of them all at once.
Okay, anything regarding the Sonic LP you want to say before we stop for it?
Gotta go stop making these bloody jokes.
Yes.
Don't throw Burger Man statues in rivers. It's really a problem.
Please don't. It gives you bad luck.
It'll make you lose endless amount of time, and then some guy
contributes to
and then some
ocean
archaeologists
pollution.
tell you to piss off for the rest of your life as a ghost.
That's just the sequel to The Lost Crown. It just kind of Dr. Hardacre digs up just the remains of the burger shop man from the river of Station Square.
So, imagine if it's like Bloody Mary saying it in a mirror. If you throw 3 Burger Man statues in the river, Hardacre occurs and really hates you.
Okay, ending recording.
It makes no sense.
Good riddance and goodbye, Sonic.